There are a few reasons why you'd remove a circuit breaker. Maybe you're replacing it, or maybe you want to decommission the circuit entirely. Whatever the reason, replacing one is a pretty straightforward process, but I can't stress enough, safety first. If any of this feels like uncharted territory, it might be time to call a licensed electrician. The main electrical service panel to my home is located outside next to the meter. I've already turned off the main breaker. This shuts off the power to the main panel and to the sub-panel inside the house. That's where I'm replacing a breaker. Now I'm going to remove the dead front cover by removing these screws. And I like to remove the bottom screws first so it doesn't fall down on me. And I'm making sure not to touch anything inside of the panel while I'm removing this cover. This is my sub-panel, and I shut off the power lines to these wires at the main panel. However, if this were a main panel, these wires would be coming in from the utility, and they would always be live, even when the main circuit breaker is off. In a main panel, never ever touch these wires or these metal lugs where they connect. So before I remove anything, I'm going to use this non-contact voltage tester and make sure there's no current running through these wires. These two service cables feed two metal strips running along the back called hot bus bars. And all these branch circuits snap into the hot bus bar to get power. Over here is the neutral bus bar, and right over here is the ground bus bar. Now I'm ready to remove the circuit breaker, and this is the one I'm removing. It's best practice to turn it off, even though we've already tested that no power is running. Next, you're just going to pull back on it to pop it out of place. Now it's time to remove it. A standard single pole breaker will have one hot wire attached to the terminal. If you have a GFCI or AFCI breaker, you'll have a hot wire and a neutral wire, as well as another neutral wire that connects to the neutral bus bar. To remove them, you'll loosen up the screws. Perfect. And this last one, I'll have to loosen right here at the bus bar. If you don't intend to replace the circuit breaker, then make sure you cap the ends of the wires and tuck them away in the panel, making sure they're not touching anything. I'm installing an AFCI circuit breaker, so I'll be using both hot and neutral wires. The first thing I'm going to do is install my hot wire and using a flathead screwdriver to tighten the screw, making sure it's really tight. Next, I'll attach my neutral wire and then tightening it with the screw. And the last thing I need to do is take this neutral wire and screw it into the neutral bus bar. Perfect. Now it's time to snap the breaker into the bus bar. And it's a good practice to go ahead and turn all of these circuit breakers off, then turn on the main breaker, and one by one turn each circuit back on. So I'll be putting all of these in the off position now. Now I can screw the cover back over the panel and go outside and turn the main breaker back on. Okay, my main breaker's back on, so I can turn each one of these circuits back on one by one. Let's close the panel door before calling this job done.